In this easy guitar tutorial for beginners, I'm going to show you 4 chords that'll work really well for you and get you on your way to playing guitar. So we're going to start out with the G chord, and the G chord is kind of like a really central, open sounding chord, and it looks like this. So you got your 3rd finger, okay, on the 3rd fret of your E string, 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of your A string, and in this case I've got my pinky down here on my 3rd fret high E string. Another way to do it would be like this, and some people find this easier. So these two are the same. Then the E3, A2. When I say E3, I mean 3rd fret of the E string. Okay. And when I say A2 with the 1st finger, 2nd fret of the A string. Okay, that's just the language we speak in. Now I've got my 3rd finger, my ring finger, on the 3rd fret of the high E string. So that's a G chord. Now this will come in really handy because it's got a lot of open strings. That's why I picked this chord as my first chord to show you. And then the 2nd chord that goes nicely with this is a 6 minor chord. And what's great about this, don't worry about the terminology, is all you have to do is take that 2nd finger, okay, from here, leave the 1st finger where it is, and just tuck that 2nd finger right under there, 2nd fret on the D string. Okay? Let's go back and try that again. Here's the G. Okay, got that. Now lift up your 3rd finger, tuck down your 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the D string, sorry, and hit that. Okay, that's your E minor chord. That's a relative minor to G, which we'll talk about later. Okay? The next chord we're going to hit is a 4 chord. It's called C. So it looks like this. That's one way to play it. This is a full C chord with a 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the low E string, pinky on the 3rd fret of the A string, 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the D string, and 1st finger, your pointer finger, on the 1st fret of the B string. Now this one's a little more challenging because you have to make sure that all your notes are clean. Now another way to play this chord, which is a little simpler, is remove your pinky, get rid of that, and just put your 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the A string. Don't worry about this low E string. Don't worry about it, even though it is in fact part of the chord. Let's just consider this your root note here. And then 2nd finger again, 2nd fret of the D string, open G, and 1st fret of the B string. Make sure you curl that finger so that your E string is ringing out clearly, okay? So let's hear that all the way through. That's the C chord. And then the other way to do it is just to simply move your 3rd finger to the fat string, the low E string, right there, 3rd fret. Tuck your pinky under on the A string, 3rd fret, and it sounds a little more full. So that's a personal choice, and it also depends on the song. And by the way, this C chord here, sometimes you can use it with the E, and it works. Depends on the song and what's going on, okay? Now the 4th chord I promised you is a D chord, and that looks like this. So that's also known as the 5 chord. We'll talk about that later. I've got my 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the G string, my 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, and my 2nd finger tucked under on the 2nd fret of the E string, and it looks like this. Now this chord, you can either play it like this, using your D note as your target note. You can also do it fully like with the A note, A string in there. Sounds fine. Okay, we got that? So let's go back to recap what we've talked about. We talked about this G chord. Okay, we're playing it like this I think it's the easiest way to play it for a beginner. And then we move right to an E minor chord, okay? It's a relative minor. All we do is take our 2nd finger, tuck it under, See how that goes? Now this is an easy back and forth. Check it out. It's almost the whole song into itself, isn't it? Okay, now let's go to the C chord. D, and back to your G.
Hey friends, we've got a super exciting announcement and we'll get you right back to your guitar lesson. Every Wednesday, Jimmy picks a few winners to give away prizes like free guitar courses, swag and apparel, and occasionally we'll even give away free guitars, gear, and sometimes we even give away cold, hard cash. All you have to do is be subscribed to the channel and you're automatically entered into the contest. So, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification to get updates. And be sure to like the video and comment down below and you'll earn even more chances to win. Winners will be announced every Wednesday in our Wednesday video and in our community tab. So keep an eye out for your name being called and good luck. Okay, back to your guitar lesson.
So these 4 chords in the key of G are a great place to start if you're a beginner on guitar, because it's the minimal amount of effort for the maximum amount of outcome, really, I think. Especially the G to the E minor. You're getting a lot of mileage on just very little movement, right? So by having a minimal movement, it makes it easier for you as a beginner to get back and forth. So I would say even if you can just practice these 2 chords together, and as far as strum, you got a pick in your right hand, and you're just going down, 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 up, down, up, down, 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 up, down. That's a classic sort of folk, kind of a folky strum. Now, for those of you that don't use a pick, you can, some people just, my wife plays with just her thumb. It's kind of a little more finger style. That's fine too. And then back to the E minor. So I would recommend, if you're an absolute beginner, which we all are at some point, just go back and forth like this, slowly, until you get it really, really right. So you feel comfortable with the G and the E minor. And once you get comfortable with that, then go to the C and pick up the D. And back to your G. So I've taught a lot of students over the year, all the years of many different ages, and I ran a music camp for kids for a lot of years. So I had to learn how to distill this stuff down to the sort of most common denominator, really, really simple. And I found that by starting with the G and E minor chord, and then later adding a C and D, it really, you want to have fun with it, right? You don't want to get stuck. So by doing that, really easy strum, and back and forth. You'd be surprised how many songs you can do with just these chords. And once you get comfortable with the G, E minor, C, D, you can do it in any different order you want. You can do a G, and I'll just call out some chords, do a D. How about an E minor? Great. Up to a C. There's the full C that I showed you. Go to D, E minor, G, E minor, G. So my point is, with these 4 chords that I'm showing you here, you can try to do any different order you want, play with it, get creative with it. You'll be writing songs in no time. So yeah, I think, again, with the G chord spelled out like that, you know, you got your basic. Now, if you're a little ambitious and you want to go a little bit more, a little different voicing for that G chord, you can just put your third finger on the third fret of the B string, okay? And your pinky under it on the third fret of the E string. It's a slightly different voicing. Now, what's great about that voicing, and we're getting a tiny bit more advanced here, but I think it's worth mentioning, you can go from a G to a C simply by moving these two fingers one string. See how I'm doing that? Check it out. So that's one of the really magical things about this particular G chord. George Harrison called it the Magic G Chord. He used it a lot. Is you can just by strumming along like this, and you go to your C, it's a great change. You can even go to a D. It's like a D sus. So I think it's important to mention that just by putting that third finger on the third fret of the B string and tucking your pinky under, kind of gives it a slightly different voicing. And if you use a pick, you could. All of a sudden you're writing Tom Petty style songs, okay? So use those 4 chords, have fun with it, don't get too bogged down. You know, it's going to be, if you're a beginning guitarist, it's very challenging. You get blisters on your fingers and, you know, you have to kind of work with it, keep it in tune. But it's really worth the journey. And I hope these 4 chords take you to some great places. We'll see you down the road.
My friend Jimmy has the coolest guitar lessons. Go to jimmydillon.com/free and get all your amazing gifts. He's the best. Roll! Roll!